Have you ever sat in a room full of people who share your last name and still felt like you didn't belong? Like you were planted in the wrong garden? You're not imagining the tension, the odd distance, the way the air shifts when you walk in. Chosen one. This found you right on schedule, not early, not late. Destiny is never clumsy. You've been sensing it, quietly, constantly. A deep inner nudge that you're different, not superior, set apart. There is a calling on your life that keeps rubbing against people who prefer the comfort of the familiar. This isn't just another video. This is a confirmation. You're not cursed. You're not delusional. You're chosen. And when you're chosen, even family can feel far away, not because you did something wrong, but because of what rests on you. Stay with me. What I'm about to share will reframe how you see your family, your purpose, and the strange path you've been walking. If your spirit already feels this, type 777 in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a word that strengthens your journey. And if this message resonates deeply, I've linked a guide below. The Chosen One's Awakening Blueprint, with gentle, practical insights to help you navigate this season with wisdom and peace. Check it out when you're done here. The weight of being set apart. Being chosen isn't a badge. It's a burden you learn how to carry with grace. It's not walking with your chin high in pride. It's learning to bow your head and surrender. When God marks you, He doesn't always stamp the outside. He amplifies your spirit. That frequency disrupts rooms. It disturbs comfort zones. It makes old patterns nervous. You probably felt it early. You thought differently, asked questions no one else dared to ask, felt things more deeply than made sense. You noticed what people tried to hide behind polite words and polite smiles. That wasn't you being too sensitive. That was your spirit waking up before your vocabulary caught up. Your path hasn't been smooth. You've been pushed into problem solving before you were taught the manual. That's because God doesn't pick polished resumes. He shapes raw material. Rejection, confusion, detours. Those weren't sent to disqualify you. They were chisels. Your family may not have understood, not because they're bad people, but because spiritual blindness is a real thing. You were labeled rebellious, dramatic, too quiet, or too loud. Anything but what you actually were, becoming. The chosen carry light, real light. The kind that exposes truth without saying much. That kind of light feels loud to people who prefer shadows. You don't have to preach, you just have to show up, and the room starts sorting itself. That's why you felt misunderstood. That's why some relatives seem irritated by your presence and don't know why. Their spirit recognizes the shift even when their mind can't translate it. Being chosen means being set apart from family patterns. It means being the one who says, "The cycle ends here." It's holy work, and yes, it's costly. It'll cost you comfort. Sometimes it'll cost you closeness, but it also gives you a new kind of peace, one that doesn't crumble when approval is withheld. So don't take the distance personally. Take it spiritually. This is transformation, not punishment. Your calling isn't a group assignment, it's an entrusted mission. And many of the most sacred missions begin with a quiet separation where God speaks clearer because the noise finally falls away. If that's you, you already know the truth. You've been grieving old bonds while heaven has been rearranging your path. A door didn't close on you, it closed behind you, and that's different. When family grows cold. Let's talk about the part that stings. When you start walking boldly in your purpose, some of the folks who should cheer you on will fall silent. Invites fade. Conversations shorten. Jokes turn into jabs. You'll start to wonder, what did I do wrong? The story most people never tell you is that you did something right. You answered a call that doesn't wait for a family vote. Whether you call them familiar spirits or old dynamics, certain patterns have lived in bloodlines for years. Control, comparison, resentment, pride that masks pain. When you begin to heal, grow, or simply refuse to play the old role, those patterns get uncomfortable. The truth is, many don't resent who you are. They resent who you're becoming because your growth shines a light on places they've kept dim. Some will feel left behind. Some will feel exposed. Some will fear you'll become someone they can't recognize. Instead of rising with you, they'll try to hold you to who you were. Let them try. You're not required to shrink so other people feel safe inside their limits. Your path is narrow on purpose. Many are called, few accept. You didn't buy your place, you were born into it. Remember Joseph? Betrayed by brothers, thrown in a pit, sold off, and still, nothing was wasted. What others meant for harm recalibrated him for purpose. If parts of your family have cooled, breathe. That isn't failure, it's a signpost. You are shifting atmospheres. You're standing in your assignment. Painful? Yes. Pointless? Never. If this is landing, drop 444 in the comments. It's a reminder. Protection, guidance, clarity. You're watched over. You're being led. You're not as alone as it feels. The quiet war of rejection. Rejection isn't only an emotion, it's a strategy. When you're chosen, the pushback often starts closest to home because early wounds try to shape lifelong identities. That's why it can feel so personal. A conversation left you unheard. A milestone went uncelebrated. A boundary was mocked. Suddenly, your sense of worth takes a hit. Here's the thing. Rejection wants to rewrite your name. It whispers that you're too much or not enough. It nudges you to over-explain, over-perform, over-give, hoping this time you'll finally be allowed to belong. That path is bottomless. But breathe. Their inability to celebrate you never reflected your value. It reflected their capacity. Your presence stirred what they haven't healed. And instead of dealing with the wound, some projected it onto you. That doesn't make you the problem. It makes you a mirror. The subtle digs, the withholding, the convenient amnesia about your growth, these are small foxes that try to spoil a big vineyard. See it clearly, but don't let it rot your heart. God allowed it to refine your appetite for validation. If everyone had accepted you easily, you might have settled where you were admired but never expanded. So you have a choice. Carry the wound or carry the wisdom. Choose the wisdom. Let the pain become a passage, not a prison. You're not rejected, you're redirected. You're not unseen, you're being hidden on purpose until the timing is right. The holy gift of isolation. There's a chapter in almost every chosen life where everything gets quiet. People drift, plans dissolve, rooms that once felt full go still. It's tempting to call it abandonment, but look closer, it's an invitation. Before Joseph reached the palace, he knew the pit and the cell. Before Moses led a nation, he learned the desert. Before David wore a crown, he learned caves. Before Jesus announced his mission, he embraced the wilderness. The pattern isn't punishment, it's preparation. In isolation, God recalibrates you. He detoxes you from the opinions that shaped your identity. He removes who you had to be to survive and restores who you were born to be. Your prayers deepen. Your discernment sharpens. Your gifts wake up. You stop performing and start aligning. You stop begging to be understood and start loving being in tune. Don't chase what God cut away. Not everyone can travel the altitude of your next season, not because they're villains, but because your assignment requires oxygen they haven't trained for. Eagles don't hold formation with flocks. They rise, and in rising, they meet new winds. This quiet won't last forever. But what you allow God to build in it will last a lifetime. Guard it, steward it, journal, pray, study, rest. Let your roots go deep so when it's time to bloom in public, your petals don't panic. You don't need their green light. Let me say it plainly. You do not need your family's permission to obey God. You don't need universal agreement to move forward. You don't need to keep re-explaining your calling to people committed to misunderstanding it. Seeking approval can become an addiction, especially when the no comes from people you love. But your soul was not designed to run on claps. It runs on alignment. Alignment will sometimes cost you understanding. That's okay. Trade the need to be applauded for the grace to be faithful. Stop collecting crumbs from tables where your spirit starves. Stop negotiating your light to get a seat in rooms built on control. The doors that are yours will not require you to amputate your voice to walk through them. Walk in authority anyway. Let doubt do what doubt does. Let critics critique. You obey. When you release the need to be validated, your peace matures. Your backbone straightens. You move like someone who knows they were approved in heaven long before anyone on earth had an opinion. If that freedom is what you want, breathe it in. It's already yours. Spiritual identity and sacred detachment. One of the strongest muscles you'll ever build is the ability to separate who you are in the spirit from how people treat you in the natural. If you tie your identity to every cold shoulder and coded comment, your heart will be at the mercy of somebody else's mirror. You are not their projection. You are not their rumor. You are not the worst version of your past. You are who God says you are, a carrier of purpose with a mind that can be renewed and a future that can be rebuilt. Detachment is not bitterness. It's boundaries with love inside of them. It's the quiet decision to stop offering your peace to small wars. It's saying, I love you, and I won't hand you the steering wheel of my worth. You'll explain less. You'll defend less. You'll walk away faster. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Many only know the version of you that endured to keep the peace. God is introducing them, if they choose, to someone new. Be kind without being captive. Be gracious without being gullible. Stay open-hearted and well-guarded. That's not hypocrisy, that's health. When you're targeted by familiar voices, not every battle in your life wears a stranger's face. Some of the hardest spiritual pressure comes through familiar voices because it's easier to doubt yourself when the criticism comes from home. Watch for the subtle patterns, the minimizing of your wins, the joke that cuts, the "you're doing too much," the twisting of your boundaries into accusations. Notice the competitive silence, how your good news gets met with tight smiles or quick topic changes. Notice the exclusions that are brushed off as accidents. Notice the way your past is weaponized to shrink your present. This isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about becoming wise. You don't need to wage war against people. You need to stop agreeing with lies. You are not the problem for refusing to carry a problem that's not yours. You don't owe anyone access that costs you dignity. Love well, but love wisdom more. Stay prayerful, stay anchored, stay obedient. What isn't recognized now may be undeniable later when your life becomes the loudest testimony in the room. Your light will keep shining. There's a reason the room shifts when you walk in, and it isn't arrogance. The light in you agitates what hides in dark corners. Growth highlights stagnation. Peace disrupts chaos. You're not trying to expose anyone. You're simply being who you were meant to be, and that alone is confrontational to anything built on pretending. Some will call you too deep, brand new, or holier than thou. Don't take the bait. Humility doesn't require you to dim to prove you're not proud. Shine with a clean heart. Speak with a soft spirit. Let your life do the loud work. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It outlasts it. You weren't called to blend. You were called to beam, not to show off, but to show the way. There's someone watching you quietly, waiting for a sign that it's safe to step out too. Your courage is their permission. Your consistency is their blueprint. Keep going. Forgive fully. Return wisely. Forgiveness is about your freedom, not anyone else's comfort. You're not saying what happened was okay. You're saying you'll no longer allow it to poison your heart. But hear me clearly. Release doesn't require return. You can forgive and keep your distance. You can wish someone well and still protect your peace. Family is not a spiritual contract to stay in cycles that crush you. Reconciliation requires truth, humility, safety, and change. If those ingredients are missing, going back isn't healing, it's relapse. Bless them, block them if you need to, and move forward without malice. If you've ever walked away from someone you love to protect what God is building in you, drop 999 in the comments. That's closure. That's the end of a chapter that taught you what love shouldn't cost. You are not alone. You've endured the silence, the cold stares, the closed doors, and still you're here. That alone should tell you something about the hand that's been holding you. You were never abandoned. You were being prepared. The rejection redirected you. The isolation insulated you. None of it was wasted. Being set apart isn't a punishment. It's a strategy. God pulled you from what was familiar to plant something unfamiliar and beautiful in you, something that couldn't grow in crowded rooms and loud opinions. In the breaking, He revealed your true name, the one He spoke over you before you took your first breath. Lift your head. The pain was real, but so is the purpose. The loneliness was heavy, but so is the glory that's about to rest on your life. You're not the only one on this narrow road. There is a remnant rising, warriors who've been wounded but stayed worshipful, betrayed but not bitter, misunderstood by many and still chosen by heaven. So what now? Walk boldly, Move with quiet confidence. Stop apologizing for the way God wired you. Stop asking to be understood by people who don't have the language for your level yet. Embrace your difference. Use your voice. Build what He shows you. And know this, the same family that doubted you may one day need the light you carry. Whether they ever admit it or not, keep rising. Your validation flows from the Most High, not from their approval. If this word found your heart, share it with another chosen one who needs the strength you found here. And if you haven't already, subscribe and tap the bell. Let's walk this out together. We rise as a community, not just as individuals. You are not crazy. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and you're right on time.